Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Rūta. I'm from Lithuania, Kaunas city, and I'm here with my friend, I could say, probably, Didier. And we want to present you our experience, our crazy adventure from the past summertime. And it's not by accident I put this picture on the first slide. I wanted you to see that we somehow remind me of Friends series, if you know them. So I think this picture illustrates how our camp went and how it looked like. It's like crazy adventure for each one of us from the picture.
It's just incredible that these students are in my house in this photo. I didn't know them, and here they are. We're a big family after, 2 weeks, 14 days. Our presentation this is the outline for our presentations. We're going to talk about our educational philosophies and how we came to find the TED program, and then how we prepared for it. So a lot of pictures coming your way about our trip, your trip, Rūta. And then all the work we did behind the scenes, and then our post-travel reflections that we gathered from our students. Anything to add, Rūta?
Yeah, I think you're gonna see a lot of true views of our camp and true faces, something that does not cover up. And we want to share like the true image of the organization part, of the real part of the camp already happening, and after the camp, all the stuff which was happening too, and the reflections from the students. So yeah, just listen, and maybe you will have some questions, or even some ideas will come to your mind after our sharing.
So this is how we met. It was TED. So we applied for TED and were notified last December. TED is a 3-month-ish program. And so I'm Cass, back up to that. Do we have that? Nope. Sorry. So I've been a teacher for 16 or 17 years. I had to recount a few times. And I'm in Nebraska in a small community called Waverly. And prior to that, I was in a small community called Wahoo. One of my former students is actually in on this conversation, and I'm very excited about that. Hi, Tyler. So I teach Spanish all day, and I also sponsor the Spanish Club and a Global Voices Club and an Ethics Bowl. So I wear many hats around here. I don't love teaching Spanish, but I do like being able to show students the world via the language or the culture, or having the in-depth conversations about what's happening around in the world, because students really want that. I don't know if I said I teach high school students, so ages 14 to some 18-year-olds, but they really want just an outlet to talk about what's happening in their world. And I think my Global Voices or Ethics Bowl or Spanish, like, we can find a way to make that work. I also get to travel with students when I wear all these hats, and that's like the best part of the job, is being able to travel with students. So again, I'm from a small Nebraska town. I'm actually not, it's the third biggest town. But anyway, as a university student, I studied abroad in Australia, Mexico, and Spain. And so that really developed my love of traveling. Before I was 19, I'd only been on a plane once. And I think that like my inner child just really wanted to travel. And so I found all the means that I needed to be able to travel whenever I could, now that I had my freedom. And I really haven't stopped. Traveling has become such a part of who I am that I hope I can inspire my students to get out of their comfort zones as well, just to grow as people. Because I think that as a quiet girl from Nebraska, traveling has been life-changing. And I think that the more we are able to experience one another, that shared human experience, I think the more likely we'll have a more peaceful future, which is what I want for my own kids. I have 2 boys at my house, which is why I'm in my classroom, because they're very loud. They're 2 and 4, and a big dog at my house. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, so I will introduce myself also shortly. So As I said, I'm from city named Kaunas, from Lithuania. So who knows, who doesn't? So Lithuania is pretty small country. Compare even to Nebraska, it's super, super small. And usually people from the America side doesn't know where it actually is. So I'm super happy that I could share my experience and represent my country. Also, I'm working like CAS, a lot of different little works, which is not little, then you put them together. So maybe that's also one of the things we share with CAS together. So I'm working as the Lithuanian language teacher for international students, as our school is a private school, but it also international school. So we have a lot of students from different countries. I think right now it's like 20 countries overall. So that's why I'm teaching Lithuanian language for foreigners. Also, I am student council coordinator, international projects coordinator, international students mentor, IBDP program coordinator in Kaunas campus school. Also, I'm covering some, let's say, extra school activities like debate club, for example, or publishing team of the school. So that's some different kind of jobs which I do overall in one day. So sometimes it gets confusing, but I love my job because it's not boring. It has a lot of different stuff happening. And I think that's why I love my job and I love to make new ideas. And to join TED was one of those ideas that I was thinking, okay, I can broaden my mind, I can see the broader view of the world, and I can meet a lot of new people. And that decision led me to CAS. So I think you need to take any chances the life gives you. And if somebody says, okay, we have this and this idea, maybe somebody wants to do it. And if it's something that is valuable from my interest with my, let's say, values, then I will join it. I will invest all myself to that activity. So yeah, talking about the travel perspective. So I was traveling from the young age with my parents. So travels was always in our family like a priority. I think my mom put a seed inside me that travels open the world and you meet a lot of new people. You get to know a lot of new cultures. And I think that's who I am right now, that I have been able to travel in my young age. And it's not a secret that before coming to school, I was in education program at the Brazilian Lithuanian school, which was in São Paulo, Brazil. It was one of my biggest adventures till this camp, I would say. So as I introduced myself to my students for my first September, it was like, okay, so I'm former educational program from Brazilian school as like a teacher, but it was like something huge for me till I started to work on this camp. So you can imagine what an adventure was this organization part and these 2 weeks, which we had together with Cass and 8 of the kids. So yeah, that's a little about myself. And I want to share that I strongly believe that international student exchange programs, it doesn't matter, is it Erasmus Plus, or is it, I don't know, American Lithuanian camp? They are not only like help to get to know ourselves and the world around us better, but I also truly believe that they open like new doors for a young person, and it helps him or her create his future. So that's why I come with this crazy idea, this camp. And I know from the experience how much such things can give to a student, as I myself traveled a lot in the student age. So that's why I wanted to give something for the students too. And I think at the end of the TED, it going to an end, I created this idea in my mind that it would be so cool to organize a camp for our students in America. But it was something crazy and I didn't imagine it maybe happening. It just was like, okay, let's try to do it. And I went to my principal of the school and I said to him, okay, so I have this idea. What do you think? And he was like, it's risky. I don't know if it's possible. Nobody did it before. So maybe you present me a plan, like a budget table, like everything. Then we can consider it and think about it in the future. So yeah, but if I take something to me, I take it pretty personally. So I took this idea very seriously after that, maybe as a challenge to myself, I would say. And I love challenges. So I reached some, how to say, friends or TED fellows from the TED program, which we've been together. Who work in America, of course, because I wanted to do a camp in America. So yeah, and Cass was one of the first ones who replied with, at least I would say, similar enthusiasm as I was. And I was like, okay, so somebody agreed with this crazy idea. That's amazing. That's a start. Okay, let's look what's next could be done. And yeah, we chat with Cass probably every day. It was a little bit complicated because of the hour differences, like it's 8 hours difference. So I go back from work and I'm starting to chat with Cass because she is starting her work. So that was also something challenging in the beginning, but we get with that pretty okay, I would say. And yeah, Cass suggested me some itinerary, which she gonna share with you after this. And I presented the itinerary for my principal. And I would love to say that he said, yes, let's do it. But that was not a case. That's why this camp was a challenge. I'm not saying that the principal is not like trusting me or my abilities. I'm just saying that it was so crazy for our school to send students to other parts of the world that I think he just thought that it's somehow unimaginable, and I don't know. So yeah, but I took it serious, as I said, and I presented. I believed in my idea, and somehow after some of the meetings, he believed at least a little bit in it too. But I would say honestly, I think he believed 100% only the day I sent an image that we are in the plane flying to Nebraska. So I think that was a step. Then he finally believed that it's happening. So yeah, one crazy cosmonautic idea, because I'm the astronaut myself in my life. So I believe that it was such an idea. And I found my friend Cass, who somehow shared this idea with me, wanted to share this idea with me and join me. So that's how the adventure began.
I don't know if even Rūta knows this, but when she proposed the idea, she said about bringing students to the United States. I thought, oh, she'll spend, a few days with me, a few days in New York. But I didn't expect to be 2 weeks in Nebraska. Nebraska is not a tourist destination in the United States. So that began. Oh, wait, shoot. Do you want to do yours first or mine?
It doesn't matter. I can talk from my side if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the boring part or the most complicated. So we needed to prepare Cass and me from our sides. My side was like legal, budgeting, finances, travel details, and all that stuff, health insurance, and something like this. So first time in my life, I faced Lithuanian immigration department to get consent for the travel of the minor child. So I needed to chat a lot with parents which going to the camp. I needed to get to know all that legislative thing happening. So we had a lot of paperwork from that side, because each of the student needs to have this form to get past border to the United States. Of course, plane tickets, but that was probably the easiest and probably one of the most expensive parts of the camp. Also the ESTA form. I don't know if you are familiar, because maybe some of you are from the Americas, so you know you don't need this, but us Europeans, if we want to travel to United States, at least for some period of time, we need to fill such a form as ESTA, that we can get the confirmation from the your border security or border control that we are legal to come in. And even this doesn't mean that when we come to Chicago airport, they're gonna pass us. It's just some formal thing to do. And it was the first time for me to fill it. And it's very detailed, I could say. And of course, health insurance, because our European one is not working in America. So we needed to cover that too. Because I think, and I learned a lot about it, that America has some different kind of story with the health system. So I think we just wanted to be safe and sound. Yeah, and the next picture, probably only Lithuanian fellows would understand. If Cass, you can push the button. It's a first budget table, very draft one I made for my principal. It covers like the amount we collected from the student parents. It has flight tickets, camping, ESTA form, because it was also something we needed to pay, insurance, hotel, transportation, the leading person, day expenses, food, some leisure time activities, life adventures, parks, or whatever. And yeah, and how it's gonna be like collected. Is it gonna be like transfer? Is it gonna be by card or whatever? And how is the total expenses is with the had money part? Like, is it okay? Is it can be happening, like if we have enough money? And in the end of the presentation, we will share the challenge we faced, I think, from the money side, which if you want to do something like this, you need to consider. But I would say I planned in detail, and I don't know, Cass, maybe you will agree or not. And I presented to the principal, who studied businesses, so he knows how the tables should look like, and is it was a plus or a minus for the school. And he agreed with this, so it was a good table probably. But you always need to remember that in this such big adventures, unexpected things can happen, and you need to be prepared for that. And I really believe we have been prepared, but probably not for everything. So yeah, just a little preparation from my side, except of course a lot of emails with students and parents, the online meeting, which we had, me and Cass, with the students and the parents, also to get to know Cass better and to get to know me, because not all the students knows me, because we have 2 campuses and I work only in one. So there were some students who didn't know me at all too. So that was something new for them and for their parents. And of course, chatting with Cass and planning the itinerary and doing a lot of work to make this happen. So yeah.
So on my end, this is April, I believe. I got the email that Rūta had the permission from her principal. I was sitting at my desk. It was a study hall, and I just asked students, hey, what do teenagers do in Nebraska during the summertime? And I just pulled up a spreadsheet and started plugging in dates. I would put the most essential ones, like Memorial Stadium, the Capitol, the Omaha Zoo, the main tourist destinations of Nebraska. I plugged those in, and then I just started collecting ideas from my students, and we came up with a 12, 14-day itinerary. It was pretty incredible how it all came together. Just a big puzzle and a testament to my students, because they were invested from that first announcement. Hey, I have some teenagers coming from Lithuania. Do you guys want to hang out with them this summer? Like, yes. So it was really cool to see my students engaged immediately and sharing with me all the connections they have, because it truly was a community event that came together. Maybe the district didn't understand quite so much, like Rūta and her principal, because I was kind of hoping that they would help us out with transportation, like a white van. But that did not come to fruition. So on my end, while she was doing all the boring paperwork, I was really trying to get us the accommodation and the transportation for an affordable rate. But I guess with that time frame and the amount of people that we had coming, that was the hardest thing to do. So I was disappointed in those not hitting that budget that we had planned for. But then we had to just make changes elsewhere in our budget, not as many times out to eat, or we'll cut an activity so that we could have better accommodations and reliable transportation, because we don't have great public transportation in Nebraska. So we had to have our own vehicle just to get around day to day.
Yeah, so this pictures is from my side when we were going to Nebraska, and I wrote one big happy family. So I want to share with you one like personal thing probably. When you're going on this adventure with like 6, 7, whatever, 10 kids, you need to understand that you're gonna become mom, sister, friend, psychologist, worst enemy maybe in some days, I don't know, best friend in other days. And everything started from the first picture on the left side. It's from Vilnius airport in Lithuania. As you can see from the faces, probably it was super honest ones. We had a very early flight. I didn't know those kids. It was the first in-person meeting in the airport. And I was also very, very, of course, excited, but at the same time scared, because it's the first time for me and I never been to America before myself. So, yeah, and I think what I understood from the traveling part, like the long flight part, because we had like two, we needed to change the flights 2 times. And going back, we even had the delay for 1 day. So it was an adventure, but maybe about it later. So yeah, you need to spend a lot of like real time with the kids. It's not like in school, you prepared, you like put your makeup on or your dresses on, and the students have uniforms and everybody is like super in the study modes and everything is super fine. They have a bad day, you have a bad day, it happens. Here, it's like real life situations happening. If the kid forgets his passport in the plane, I am the one who need to solve that problem. And it happened. So one of my dearest students forget his passport when we fly to Chicago. And yeah, he said it when we were near the border control. And I was like, okay, Thomas, what we can do now? So right now it sounds funny, but it wasn't funny at that time, because without passport, you can't go anywhere, as you can understand. In Europe, between European countries, we can travel easier. To go to like third country or America, it's unimaginable to travel without passports. And with minor child, it's even more difficult. So yeah, but we were lucky. We were running around Chicago airport and we were chatting with probably every person possible we could find there, to try to like channel that we left the passport in the airplane. Maybe somebody like, I don't know, the cleaner lady or somebody can go and check. We know that it is in there, but the procedures are super long, as you may know. And it took like 3 hours to get the little result that they're gonna go and find it. So we were lucky that we planned the big period of time to like change the flights. So we had the reserve time. We didn't need like to panic because we're not gonna be able to get to another plane. But at this moment, it was very, very stressful for me as a leading person. And you can't be prepared for this. Like, it just happens. And we get the passports. Luckily, we got it back, and the guy was super helpful. So I even wanted to write him like a beautiful message, but I didn't know how. because, oh my God, we were so happy. And at that moment, when all of us were stressful, like you would see that the kids are stressful because of their newly met friend lost his passport. You can see that then we get the passport, all the faces was like, oh my God, such a relief, we are happy. And I think that part, like the first challenging situation, like connected us, I would say, the most. Like at that moment, we became like a team, I would say. So it's, maybe we could avoid such a situation for sure. It would be better. Some nerves would be safe in my head, but at the same time, it made us stronger. And I think it made us a team much earlier than we maybe would be if it wasn't happened in that time. So yeah.
And I was kind of getting messages from Rūta during this time. So I was ready to intercept them in Lincoln, Nebraska, because they did fly into Lincoln instead of Omaha, which would be our biggest airport. And so I made them some welcome gift bags with a Viking t-shirt, a new one, some fresh water, and a Pop-Tart, very American, because that was my itinerary is going to start the very next morning. And I knew we probably didn't have a lot of time for a nice breakfast because day one was going to be long, and I knew that. And then I also had a friend help us take the students and their luggage to the airport, and she brought them, I think, cinnamon rolls and cornbread. Yeah. So we were ready for day one because their flight arrived pretty late. So we checked in the hotel probably around 11 or midnight. Got into their room, and then this is day one.
Yeah, so I think we had our first breakfast as a family, as a team, in the girls' room of the hotel. As you can see, it was super casual. I would say like a friends gathering on the evening, like to watch a movie, maybe. I think at this moment there was still some tensions between girls and the boys, or maybe some boys in between. Yeah, and you can see in the second picture that like we look like a team. And one of my friends said that you can't see where is the teacher in the picture because it looks like there is only the students in it. So yeah, that was fun to listen. And actually it happened not only one time. Being in Nebraska, then people thinks that you are the students, not a teacher, but it happens here in Lithuania too. So I don't mind that. But yeah, it was something crazy that I think the girl who looks like a student can take like 7 students and bring them to other part of the world all alone. Because after the camp, I got to know that usually it's safer and probably like normal to go with the other leading person, not alone with the group of students. If something happens to you, you have the fellow who can cover or step in. But like I said, I'm a little bit crazy one, and I decided to go alone. So yeah, so that's the first day, and I think Cass will share what we have done. It was pretty amazing, and I would say very official first day with Nebraska.
So we had to do the Capitol. This is the Capitol building in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we had to do this on this day because that big itinerary puzzle, this was the only time they had available. There were 3 events that I had to plan around. Oh, no, just, yes, 3 events that had to have specific dates just for availability. So Capitol was day 1. And this is my first reality check that these are teenagers, just like mine. And our first stop was Best Buy because they wanted to get stuff for their phones that I don't quite understand to make them work in the United States. And they probably could have spent more hours at Best Buy, but we had to get to the Capitol by 11. So it is a great building, but they were so tired and jet lagged. They did a good job of hanging in there, but 2 state senators agreed to meet with us, and that was really awesome. I thought the kids asked great questions, and I thought our senators did a good job engaging with the kids as well. And then a few of my students joined us, which that was my goal from the beginning. How can I get my students involved just to get that connection, that passion of mine of sharing the world with students. So some of my students were able to join us, just one on the Capitol tour. I'm not surprised. And 4 of them came to an escape room later that night, which a coworker of mine was kind enough to pay for our students to enjoy. So it fit within our budget. Anything to add, Rūta?
Yeah, I think I just will agree that the jet lag was pretty strong, and we said for the students, don't be shy to ask the serious person, the serious guys, some questions. And I believe my students showed pretty well, I would say, and they asked not 1, not 2, but like some questions, and serious ones. And they didn't been to Nebraska before, so that was something new for them, but they managed to perform really well. And I think at the afternoon, the chill, the fun activity after something very official in the morning was like the good balance for the itinerary of the first day. So yeah.
My students, at the end of the day, they were convinced Lithuanians are way smarter than us. The questions that they asked and the way that they were able to navigate the escape room. Very impressive. This is day 2. Day 2 is 4th of July. You can't mess up 4th of July. So yes. I took them to Waverly City Parade and Waverly's opening of their pool, new community pool, big deal. It was packed and it was hot, very hot. We also did a Walmart trip. So like the Walmart and the Best Buy and the Targets, I did not anticipate how fun those would be. So I'm glad I didn't overplan. Sometimes I feel like I did, but there was enough time, I think, that they were able to enjoy the day-to-day activities that we do in the United States. Let's see.
Yeah, I think from our side, the 4th of July is like something you see only in the TV screen or in the pictures. And it's like something very, how to say, fantastic, like wow, what a day, how I would like to be in that place to experience that in life in person, and to be able to be near locals then they celebrating this day. It was something unimaginable, and it was at the same time so cozy and so warm, not because of the temperature, because it was whoa, but I'm saying about the persons, which we didn't know them, what was around us. We didn't know the locals so well because it's the second day, but the feeling was super welcoming, and we felt like we like belong here, I would say, even if we are not Americans. So yeah, and I think students felt the same. So that was something amazing to experience.
This is the first 4th of July I remember there being a storm. So there was a good old Midwestern storm, very windy, like potential tornado, which would really have made it an experience for you all, but that didn't happen. It was just windy. So a lot of the events were canceled that evening, but luckily one of my friends in her neighborhood, they were still lighting off fireworks. So we just kind of went over there on a whim and hid out in their garage and watched the fireworks. It worked. I think some of your students even got to light off fireworks, which they can't do. So that was big. Day 3 was in my classroom where I am right now. And another contact of mine had introduced me to Renee Sansui. And she is an Omaha tribe leader, and her daughter, Colleen. And they were able to tell us more about Native American history in Nebraska, but also kind of in the United States, I would say. I thought it was pretty important to hear from somebody as local as possible about the Native American culture in our area, because it's pretty strong and it's important. And we did a beading lesson. And gosh, this is only day 3, but anything on that, Rūta?
Yeah, I just want to share that, beading, I was thinking that, okay, girls maybe will enjoy it, but boys definitely not. And the crazy experience is that the boys was so invested in the activity, even not so much as girls was not so much invested as the boys. And we like finished the activity And still some boys were like beating and finishing their work. And I'm saying, okay, we need to go to pack, to clean. And they're like, no, we need to finish. And I was so impressed, and it was so, so nice to see this. Yeah, so it was something very cool.
One of my students who was able to join us, he also made the comment that it was pretty incredible that we were in a Spanish classroom. English was our common language, but Lithuanian was being spoken. And then Renee did speak some Omahan to us, which only 10 people in the world are able to speak fluently. So that was a pretty powerful experience. Day 4, so on that, I guess they went to the mall or something after that on day 3. But day 4, we actually came back to the school, and they had a proper tour of our building and our facilities. And I heard one of Rūta's students say, just like the movies, our building was just like an American TV show. It's American high school. And then we also did Paint Yourself Silly.
Yeah, I had the experience to be a cheerleader. That was an amazing day for me. So
some of them were really like, Beatrice was really good at throwing the football. So that was fun. Paint Yourself Silly, it was really convenient because it was close to their hotel. I thought it would just be one more activity, and it's like they could make little souvenirs to take home. Maybe probably wouldn't do that again. Day 5 is the zoo. So Omaha Zoo is like one of the top, I think it's like back to back San Diego. They maybe feud over the top spot. I don't know. I'm a little biased, but I know it's top 5 in the United States. And it was rainy and humid this day, but the zoo wasn't as busy. And 4 or 5 of my students were able to join, which was awesome. I was able to overhear conversations between my students and Rūta students, and it did not disappoint. Rūta, anything to add on the zoo?
No, I think it was a great experience. It's hard to say which experience was the most memorable one, because all of them was the memorable ones. So
okay, we're already on day 6. Day 6, we did some camping prep because I was about to drop them off at Platte River State Park for the weekend. So they were in charge of buying groceries and putting it all in our little white van, packing up. So they had to pack up like a travel bag and leave their big suitcases in my garage because there just wasn't space in the hotel to leave it there. So yeah, they got their groceries, packed up, and went to Platte River State Park.
Yeah, I think we need to add that this was the most stressful part, I would say, from the ideas of the itinerary from my or our side, because I said to Kaz that I don't know if these kids are into camping. They usually more like used to like go camping in the woods, but like in proper houses, like in countryside. It has showers inside the house, toilets, and all that stuff. And I was super scared, okay, what students gonna think about this camping experience, because it was like the real one. The shower and the toilet was not in the house, and it was nature all around, and there was some spiders and all that stuff. So I was a little bit scared, and I said that to Cass. And when we were going there, I was a little bit panicking inside, of course, not showing it to the students, but it turned out pretty well. And as we're gonna show you the comments from the students, it was one of the favorite part from the 2 weeks camp.
So they spent an entire evening and then a full day. So some of my students were able to join them. They went paddle boating, fishing. I think you guys went on several hikes. This day I opted to stay home with my family. And one of my coworkers and dear friend, she went out to see them with her dog. And I think it went very smoothly. As Rūta said, it became one of the highlights of the trip for the students.
Yeah.
And then I went to collect them on day 8. And on the way out of the camp, we stopped at a safari park so they could get a better glimpse of native animals to the plains. So like bison, deer, elk, wolves, and then mainly just get them back to their hotel so they could have a proper shower, get a little nap. And then in the evening, it was a light activity with, again, some more of my students. They went bowling or laser tag. Some students chose to mini golf or putt-putt golf. Some of them did cornhole or bag toss, and then pool. And this is where I noticed some of Rūta's students were asking, well, who's going to be coming to tomorrow's event? Like, which one of my students? So they were really making those connections. They wanted certain kids to be at certain events. Adorable. This is day 9. Nope, did I skip it? I did skip it. Okay, day 9 was just back to Waverly, so back to where I teach. And a former student of mine was able to give us some horseback riding lessons. Very Nebraskan, very plains. And then we went to a local candy shop, and then to a current student's house. We can see they're all gathered over there for some, I think they're having banana splits at this time, but just to relax and see what it's like to be an American teenager in the United States. Also very hot, so we had a plan for that. Like our chocolates that we just bought, we had to bring them into the house or put them in cooling devices of some sort. But they bought a lot of candy, I think. Day 10 was baseball, America's favorite pastime. And you can see in the bottom left picture, one of our local batting cages or like practice facilities, they like just gave us their space for at least an hour to practice throwing a ball, hitting a baseball, teaching us more about baseball, like baseball 101. And because that night we were going to a Salt Dogs game, which is one of the activities that I had to have like a certain day, because another student's dad was able to provide everybody with a free ticket to the game. This is like a minor league team called the Salt Dogs. And it was great. I had a great time. And I think 4 or 5 of my students joined. So that was awesome.
Yeah, some real American life, actually. Again, only from the movies we could see it before, so it was something extraordinary for us. Like for locals, probably it was like something, I don't know, not daily, but like weekend vibes or something. But for us, it was something extraordinary. And as you can see from my face, I'm not a huge like fan of the sports, but I was super happy. So
it felt very, very personal, and I don't know, we were more relaxed at this point. They had just went a weekend camping. So yeah, the family was really coming together. Day 11, this was another event. Like Memorial Stadium is huge in Nebraska. It's like the Mecca of Nebraska. It's where everybody goes on Saturday nights for football games. The stadium holds 90,000 and we sell it out every football Saturday. So getting into here was very difficult. They were booked the entire summer, but luckily my athletic director had some contacts and he was able to connect me with a tour guide who gave us a private tour of the stadium. And they were able to get on the turf and see it. And maybe people have seen the headlines, the volleyball game, the biggest women's sport crowd ever was at the stadium just recently as well. So pretty cool that we got to experience that. And then we took some time on and explored the campus. So we talked to the study abroad office at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln about how to be students there if they wanted to be in their future. I think at least 2 of them might think about it.
Yeah, I think after this day, our students, like my students at least, understood that, okay, maybe it would be interesting to like for real consider to go and live here abroad and to like go study maybe in Nebraska University or something. So because of the stadium, of course, it left a huge impact, but also from the facilities of the campus, as we saw what is in it was something like huge. So yeah, I think that left a huge impression, and that's why some of the girls at least said that they would consider to try apply to study. So we will see.
Then we dropped them off later after this. This was a host family night. So after this experience, they went to the mall, and then they were dropped off with people they didn't know. But I think that ended up being one of their favorite experiences was evenings at their host family. So that was there were three host families. One was a student of mine. One was a teacher in the building, and her husband also a teacher in the building, and the other one was my athletic director, and they each took in 2 of Rūta's students, and they all have students of the same age, so that would be more comfortable ideally for her students. And day 12, so we're almost at the end. Day 12, I took them to Grand Island, which is where I'm from, did a history museum. It was raining this day, but they got to set foot in buildings literally from 1890s, so maybe it was fun, maybe it was not. But and then my former teacher, my favorite teacher, he was able to show us my high school, because I know how much her students loved seeing on an American high school. So we're in the area, why not see one more? Also, their mascot is the Vikings, but not all American high schools are the Vikings. But I don't know, probably not their favorite day, but it was something to do in Nebraska for 2 weeks. I think they were just very eager to get back to their host families.
I think it was a good glimpse to see how the cowboy movies is made, actually.
I think a few movies were made or filmed here as well. The American West. This is day 13, so we're almost at the end of our trip. Their host families have dropped them off. We did at the farmers market, the sunken gardens, and then they requested another mall trip. So it was 3 hours at a mall. I went home and napped, and they're getting ready to think about going home at this point. It was also very hot again. This is our last day. They spent their entire morning at an outlet mall and one more stop at Target. And then they came to our house for a dinner, which my husband provided. And then they went back to their hotel to try to pack up all this. This is what I was doing the whole time. I had this itinerary you can see, and I shared it out. It was just a Google Doc, so students could add their names. Like, oh, I'm really having fun. I want to keep going. So they would plug their names in where they wanted to go. And I would try to send out an email to say when and where to meet us. But at the end, it was just more efficient to text them. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Oh, probably too soon. Are you ready for that, Rūta?
I would just want to say that some of the kids still chatting with my kids. So CAS students still keep strong connections with the students from my school. And I think that's the coolest part of this experience, because at least I met Beatrice as one of my students from Vilnius campus, and I didn't know her before the camp, but we got the really good connection in these 2 weeks. So she shared with me that she's still chatting with CAS girls and talking about like really personal stuff, actually, and giving each other personal advices for the boys and other things. So that's something truly amazing, what came out from this camp. So yeah, just from the student side, that they somehow really find that connection. And I think we're both happy that this happened, because that was probably the first goal, the first priority of the whole camp.
Definitely. That was some powerful relationships that were built. Just my students had no idea about Lithuania prior to this.
Yeah, so I did a little survey after the camp. Then I came back to my hometown to collect students' feedback. So some of the questions I asked was, what did you like the most from the camp and why? So unexpected as it was camping in the woods, as I said before. Also, as Cass mentioned, they really liked visiting the local school because it's totally different from our schools here. And also the zoo park, maybe because it was like something that they felt that connection with the CAS students, I would say. It was like the crashing point, probably, because it was like rainy day, it was zoo park. They were like at the beginning maybe grumpy, and then CAS students joined. They started to talk, to chat, to laugh, and somehow it turned out to be the crash point for connection. What did you like the most from the second week of the camp, and why? So as Cass mentioned, to live in the local families was a huge thing for them and huge experience, because they find the new friends and got to know the culture better. And I think also the horse riding and baseball games, as we mentioned before, it was something new to us. And farmers market was something very, very local, very cute. And also, again, a lot of students joined. And I think that was, again, the best part for the students. Yeah, and some more questions, what I wanted to share. So maybe Cass even didn't know this. So what left you the positive impression? It was the people from Nebraska, and me and Cass, they wrote that we had pretty good organizational skills. And what really left a huge message for me, it was that we helped them even then it was like too hard sometimes. We've been there, we support them. Like I said, you need to be a mom, a sister, a friend, and sometimes a coordinator and a teacher. So I think that left them a huge impact and impression too. And what left you a negative impression? Only one thing, but I need to tell it because it left an impression for me too. Nutrition of the Americans. I think you eat too much from what we saw, and too much fat in the plate. So, and it left a huge impact for us, because we tried a lot of like food chains, like local and not local, like Americans ones. It was cool, but to eat it like in daily life, like not in 2 weeks camp, it would be awful. So we were very happy that Cass' husband suggested to come for dinner sometime, because that food was like healthy and something very nutritious. And yeah, so yeah.
Yes, I don't normally eat how I was eating during that trip, and I could feel it too.
Yeah, and to share like the honest comments from the students, it was the boy and the girl. So the first comment is from one of the boys, which even said that he would love to live in there. And he felt that it's like cooler than Lithuania, because it is a very free country, more smiles, more things to do. And I liked it very much. So that's true. America is... I think Nebraska, I couldn't say that all America. So Nebraska showed us the honest and true face, and that face was only like smiles and honest opinions and very welcoming people. And that somehow really connected with my experience in Brazil. Brazil was very welcoming and warm country. And Nebraska showed very similar face to me, and that was something that left the impression. And from the girl, which you can read in the second comment, she said that the camp and everything left a very big impression, which I probably wouldn't be able to explain even in the words. So she collected the most wonderful new experiences and memories and met a lot of wonderful people. And I think this girl is still chatting with them. So I think that says a lot about the whole camp.
Here are some comments I collected from my students. Basically, they thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's interesting that you say the friendly people like in Brazil or in Nebraska. And I think that's just like what traveling, like if you're able to travel with somebody from that area, I think that everywhere I've been, people are so friendly. So it's funny to me that we notice that more about other cultures than our own, or only notice it when people travel with us. But my students, like, there's a light now in pretty much all of Europe in Lithuania, because they've made those connections. So they would love to travel there, and I would love to take them there. That would be like my next goal, is taking my students to Lithuania to see more about their culture and experience a little bit outside of their comfort zone, but I don't always think my students make travel a priority. Just it's expensive, and there's other things other things that parents prioritize over traveling to another country. Just the US is so big that it's easy to see a lot within our country, so we don't always take the opportunity to go abroad. But if I could make that happen, I think I would have a handful of kids join me. But as you can see, they were our students were very impressed, and they're ready to go. I know at least 10 students are ready to go to Lithuania whenever I say, hey, here's the price, let's go. And then our challenges, let's buy our last slide.
Yeah, so I think we need to share it if somebody of you would like to try this crazy idea to make it happen. So the Hotel with the Smile, because we had some challenges with the hotel manager, the boss, the leader one. And Lithuania is very strict with the invoices. So I needed to collect all the possible invoices from everything we buy, like from the huge, let's say, hotel, transportation, camping, and so on. And with the hotel and invoices, there was a lot of problems. So I think in the future, we should choose to talk with something higher than the guy from the manager team, or we should choose another hotel. But it was little to say a challenge. It goes to the second point, appropriate invoices. It was difficult. I think the easiest one was with the transportation company, probably. It was super fast, so we're lucky about that. Yeah, Kaz already shared about the transportation side. So, because we are specific group of people and I'm not a driver myself, so I can't drive my kids. That was a complicated situation. We needed Kaz and we needed vehicle to drive in, and we are not 10 person, we were like a little bit smaller group, so we needed to find a good option for us to fit in. So yeah, we got a van, which was our little cute or big van and little home on wheels. And I already mentioned the coordinator, teacher, psychologist, mom, sister, and friend case for me, because you need to be everyone, like every of this in one like situation sometimes, or sometimes there is days where you need to be like the tough teacher or just a friend, because kids are without their dads, moms, sisters. For some of them, it was the first time they go abroad without families. So you need to support them, to be nearby, to show that you care, that they could trust you, that they could share with you. So that was a challenge, because sometimes you need to be a tough boss, and sometimes you need to get your shoulder for the student to just lay his head on and tell some, I don't know, story or I don't know, tell something that is bothering his mind. So.
And then for me, the toughest, well, obviously the hotel and the transportation. The transportation company was awesome. I was just disappointed that our district couldn't provide transportation. But for me, the personal life balance, I said I have 2 boys at home, 2 young boys, and my husband and a dog. And just, I wanted to be there all the time for Rūta with the wheels, so we could move around. And I wanted to be with my boys too at the same time. So just that personal life balance was hard for me.
Yeah. And I think this picture pretty much sums up our camp. So it was the last picture we took together. It was took by Kaz's husband in the Lincoln airport when we checked in and we were ready to go back home before a very long and challenging trip, as it turned out. But it was a sad moment, even if we have the smiles. It was a sad moment, because 2 weeks could be like a short time. But for us, it was a long time to get to know Nebraska people, to get to know Kaz and her friends, her students. And it was so special for all of us that I think that made that huge impact and left something inside each one of us. So yeah, I think this sums up that we are so like family here